All right, all right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gratitude Speaks, where we care and we share about our experience with recovery house and communal living and using gratitude as a tool for happiness. I'm very excited about today's episode. I have my friend Scott here, who is a resident of Harvest House up in Cumberland with the Gratitude Foundation. And we get to hear his unique story. Scott, thank you for being here today. I know you've got a busy life these days, but welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I do have a busy life anymore. I stay going all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was my story too, man. Getting into recovery, the best thing for me was to get up early, stay out of my room, come home late, right after a meeting, and go to sleep, do it all over again. That's a good way to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, idle time's the devil's playground. So try not to give him any time.
Very true. So, yeah, start us out here, man. You've got a heck of a story to share with us, with our audience. Let us know how did you get connected with us? How did you end up in our care?
Well, I did some time. I did about 3,200 days in prison.
Mm.
At the end of my sentence, I had a detainer here in Allegheny County. My understanding that when I got here that I was going to go to court and go straight home is what I thought, but apparently that God had something else in mind for me, and I'm grateful that it happened that way. I ended up doing about another 100 days, and I thought, well, I didn't go in with much of a plan the last time. Maybe we should start thinking. So my dad did some research, a couple places around, brought this one to me. A lot of the halfway houses, being that I'd been incarcerated so long, you couldn't get into those because you had so much clean time or time off the street. So Dad got in contact with you, made some calls from the jail. We talked back and forth, got a little bit of a rapport with each other there. Got through all the hurdles, went back to court. The judge liked the plan. So here I sit. It's been, I guess I'm about 5 days shy of 8 months that I've been out now. Life is real good. It's real good right now.
Yeah. I think that's it's such a cool. Well, it's a wonderful success story for me personally,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your connection with me. I don't know that you know how much I think about you, because I've gotten lots of letters and I've gotten a few phone calls from people that are incarcerated. No one was as genuine as your father's desire, the way that he talked about you initially, and the way that you conveyed your story to me with such grace and humility. It just touched me, right? And part of the way that we talked was basically like, stay in touch, right? And like you said, build that rapport. And that trust, for me, that built trust. And it's so much of a risk to take on somebody. We've got a small program, so we've had a lot of parole and probation guys not do well, right? Because it really comes down to you as the individual. That you can have the greatest program in the world, but if you as an individual don't want to do the right thing, then there's nothing anybody can do to stop you or control you. And man, you've really used the house for everything that it's meant for. And I'm really grateful for that. It's amazing to see you being out 8 months, man. And it honestly, to me, it feels like longer than that.
Yeah, it does me too. It's kind of crazy how that time of incarceration, even though it was a long period of time, it kind of seems like a dream to me now. Last night, actually, I had a dream that I was locked up and got back up panicked. I was like, man, what's going on? Why am I even thinking this way? But it's scary to me to even think about going back to that again. A lot of people don't realize what it is. I'm grateful for everything that I do every day out here, even the simplest things, from being able to go out of my room down the steps to get a glass of water, without having another guy in the cell with me, and just everything. Getting a burger, fixing my own bacon, man, everything I'm grateful for. There's not a day that could be the worst day out here. It's still better than the best day I've ever had inside. Uh,
So
and I make art.
tell us
So,
about how you ended up there.
well, I started off, as I was young, I always dabbled around. I smoked weed like most people smoke cigarettes. That was, I guess, probably the start of it, is really escaping from my problems rather than facing them head on. Uh, Eventually, that progressed and got into a marriage that we were like fire and gasoline for each other most of the time. Both of us was miserable. We stayed constantly fighting. Uh, and then, the opioid epidemic came around. Well, about that time, uh, the guy I bought my weed off of also sold Oxycontin. I was managing uh, family business at the time, my wife's family, ex-wife's family. And I threw my back out, of course, and I remember the first time I got a hold of one of them 80 milligram Oxycontins, I was scared to death of it. But I didn't have the time to take off, go to the doctor. Had to keep this thing running. My production manager was out, so started off kind of innocent. I went, after the first time I did a little piece, I did a little tiny corner of it. Well, for the next year, you couldn't have convinced me that I wasn't Superman. I was breaking sales records. I was working my ass off and going home playing with the kids. And, it seemed all right, and it really wasn't affecting me financially that much at that time. I didn't even know what I had. Uh, got involved with the guy that I was getting them off of. He was going to Florida. Things were extra cheap. You know how it goes. You meet a friend, they're like, well, man, you can get this out of it. Well, the next thing you know, I'm going down the road on the way home and meeting 3 or 4 people and selling them off, and money's flowing around. Everybody think everything's all great.
You said that was
Well, that
early
always comes
2000s?
to an end. What is that?
You said that was early 2000s? What
Yeah,
year was
that was 2006, 2007, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
Well, all of that stuff always comes to an end. Somewhere along the line, somebody gets jammed up, somebody goes to jail. That flow never keeps going. I don't care. I've been in it a million times. It doesn't keep happening. You're going. Somebody's going to die. Somebody's going to go to jail. That's just the way it goes. I mean, it's the progression of things. Um, well, eventually those OxyContin went to tamper-proof pills. Couldn't sniff them no more. Couldn't do shit with them. They're junk. So then it went to the 30s. Oh, man, those things after you've been on OxyContin just ain't even. I'd do 7 of them at a time and go back for 7 more, and that's just as many as you could fit in a 100-unit needle. That's
Yeah.
just how terrible my addiction had got. Well, then the natural progression of things, then the heroin comes into effect. Uh, my tolerance on things just grows astronomically. I'm doing upwards 3 to 5 grams of heroin a day. Uh, Life's out of control. I'm not working. I'm selling dope. I'm going up and down the road all day long. Life's shit. Me and the wife still going at it. Of course, she gets involved. She's starting to get high after I started because, it's, I don't know, wasn't a good situation. So, um, eventually you just run out of ways to get the money to get things done. Um, the first time I went to jail was 2013. I got indicted, 7-count indictment on selling Suboxone, selling oxycodone. Went to jail, did about 9 months. It's the first time I ever got in trouble. Got back out, and here I am. I've been married, 2 kids, house, the regular thing. I come back home working as a laborer for the company that I was the top of.
Wow.
Living in a room at mom and dad's house. Ex-wife's done moved on. just came back out to not that great of a situation. So I stayed clean a couple months. Couple months after that, I run into a girl I used to run around with. Well, she's clean at the time, but eventually she admits that she's dabbling, and I'm down. My self-esteem's at an all-time low. So I'm looking for a reason anyways. So take off, and well, it starts off where you just get high on Friday. Still on probation and stuff. So you just get high on Friday so you get clean for Monday. So if, the PO calls you, can go in, drink enough water, you can get off on a drug test. Well, for me, I have no in between. Like I go from 0 to 1,000 like that, everything I do, it's an obsession thing, I guess. Well, before you know it, I'm right back to where I was before I went to jail to start off with. I'm not going to any meetings. I'm not doing any of the stuff I'm supposed to do. I'm lying to everybody to find out, I'm a hell of a manipulator, which is not a good thing. You can catch me in the wrong. I can turn it around and tell you it's your fault that I did it wrong. And before I leave, I'll have your credit card to go get some more. That's just how I work. Well, I guess, everybody finally figured out, all the family was like, this is enough. They shut me down on the money situation. About that time, the guy I'm getting my heroin off of, he's asking about guns. Well, I live in rural West Virginia. Of course, I can get you guns. Say no more. So, I'm buying guns off of people. I'm knocking down doors, stuff I wouldn't even have thought that if you would have told me that 10 years earlier, that I'd have went in knocking down somebody's door just so I could get something to get me by. I'm not even getting high at that point. I'm just not staying sick.
Yeah.
Scott Ranker don't do dope sick. That's one thing I'm not going to do. So, that's what ended up getting me in jail. I think that I'm ducking them. I think I'm running around and the cops aren't on me. I know that I'm jammed up. I know it's over with. I know it's over. Well, they sit around and watch me for a couple months. Finally, the day comes, mom and dad's house, eating a burger and fries. I got to go to probation the next day. I know she's going to put me in jail. I've made up every excuse under the sun why I can't go see her. So I called a girl that I knew. We was going to go out, do whatever. And I was going to plan on going to jail the next day. Well, I put my plate down, getting ready to leave, and here they come. They brought the cavalry on me. I had like 15 different cops that came that day, something like that. I had the APF there, I had Hampshire County Sheriff's Department, West Virginia State Police, Allegheny County, Mineral County, you name it, anywhere around the area I committed a crime, basically.
Yeah.
Anywhere that my foot went. I might stay in Frostburg one day. Well, the next morning I ain't got any dope. I'm going to go find it, hit a lick. Just the way it was. So that was October 7th, 2015. They came and got me. Went in for the first, about 2 weeks. I'm going up and down the hallway at jail, getting new warrants put on me. Half of the stuff I don't even know if I did it or somebody else did. And honestly, there's charges that I took that I really do not know if I committed or not because it's such a whirlwind.
Sure.
Of what was going on. Finally get, through sentencing in the state of West Virginia. And I got a decent deal. It was a 2 to 25 year sentence, which that means, you do 2 years, you see the parole board. 25 years if you lose all your good time. But at that point, I almost had that much time in. So I think, well, I'll be out in a little bit. Well, then the next thing you know, I'm up. They called me to booking one day, and I'm going around in intake looking. I'm at home, so I know everybody that's coming off the streets. I'm talking to them in their cells. Happen to look on the desk, and there's a United States Marshal badge there. And I'm like, man, I feel sorry for whoever that is. And they're like, well, that's you.
Oh, wow.
Oh man. So I get it. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of it. Just a few guns. Where I'm at, it's just a few guns. I wasn't expecting a lot of time. First meeting I ended up having with my lawyer, he said, "Well, buddy, you qualify for the Armed Career Criminal Act. It's a 15-year mandatory minimum."
Mm.
And I'm thinking, man, the temper I got, I ain't never coming home for 15 years. It's hard to tell how long I'll drag this out. So anyhow, we go through the sentencing on that. Thank God I only ended up getting 8 years. It's kind of crazy when you go to sentencing and they tell you you got 96 months and you think that's a win uh, compared to what you could have got. So of course, I end up leaving the county jails, going to state prison in West Virginia. Did fair in that. I mean, it's prisons are different depending on where you're at. You can go to state prisons and you can get your visits from your family, and they have the tablets that you can video chat with, and you can go out to the yard all day long, lift weights and hang out with people, do whatever, make your phone calls all day long. That wasn't that bad. Ended up making parole from there January the 15th, my birthday, 2020. Yeah. Go to the feds. Well, this was right in the middle of COVID. So starting off with, you got to go through a couple. I did a month of quarantine at USP Hazleton. Then I went to FCI Cumberland, did another couple, 3 weeks quarantine, and go back out. You can't move around. You only get basically one call a day on your own phone calls. You can't really do anything. You're stuck in the cells. You never know when they're going to come around. Somebody on the compound's got COVID, or in your dorm has COVID. Sorry about that.
That's all right. You might have to flip your screen again.
Yeah, there we go. Somebody called in. They might be locked down for weeks at a time, and I'll be able to call your family. Of course, then I went to Cumberland. Cumberland's probably the most laid back federal spot I went to. Ended up getting in trouble there, stayed in trouble there, got transferred to the penitentiary. Went to USP Hazleton. That's a different world for me, That's, you got to put in work to get there, to secure your spot, to be around a bunch of dumbasses, really.
What is that? What is that?
Well, putting in work, I mean, basically, whenever new guys come off the bus, if they're rats or if they're child molesters or something like that, and they're stupid enough to come into the general population, those guys are going to find out who you are before you hit that yard anyways. So, you and another guy, whoever the two newest guys there are, you have to beat him up, stab him up, whatever you might have to do. Most of the time, the penitentiaries, it's going to involve a knife. Did a little bit of time there, went to USP Lee, got into it at USP Lee with a couple of the homies. And, in the penitentiary, it's heavily racially divided. You know what I mean? Like, you're with your people. If you're white, you're on independent white time. You don't associate with these people. You might say, hey, what's up to them, but you don't associate with them. It's really crazy.
Seems like it's always been that way too.
Yeah, I don't know. The COs push it to be that way even more than, they want you to, they call it a car. Everybody's got their car, and you got a shot caller on that car. And it's usually the biggest dumbass out of all of them that has the most time. It's kind of weird how prison stuff works.
Yeah.
It's usually whoever committed the most craziest crime or something, or who's ever got 200 years over their head. That's the guy calling the shots on the yard. And if he likes you, he don't want you to leave. And if he don't like you, he wants to kill you. So either way, it's a double-edged sword,
Right.
They're not trying to see you go home. Well, I'm getting ready. I'm like, on my last couple of years, I'm going home, man. I ain't listen. I told the guys there, they wanted me to put in work. I said, man, I didn't listen to my daddy, let alone listen to you. I'm not going to. So I crashed out with him. Got stabbed up like 8 times.
Wow.
Face got reconstructed. It was an interesting day. It was a movie.
Yeah, you haven't. Yeah, I didn't hear. I'd never heard this story. I didn't know that
That was
happened.
the last couple years. This eye is all titanium. My sinus cavity, cheekbone, all that got caved in. There's a couple of homies. I just kind of refused to go along with what they had in mind. I wasn't about to catch any kind of bodies on my last couple months and get stuck there for a lifetime.
Yeah, what does that feel like, having been there for so long and being faced with a decision like that, where it's like,
Well, you never get comfortable, on a penitentiary yard. Now, a lot of guys have been to jails, and it's not like the United States Penitentiary, man. I don't care if you've been to a medium security prison anywhere, it's not a USP. That's the top of everything. Uh, it's dangerous. You do not go anywhere without a knife on you. And that's kind of when your paperwork clears, you're like, here, don't get caught without it. They give you a knife. You got to walk around with it. And if
but
you're the new guy,
who gives you a knife?
your homies,
The other
whoever.
guys in there, and so
Yeah.
everybody's always just constantly making shivs.
Yeah, if you're on the lockdown, you'll hear people. The bunks are made out of cheap steel. You know what I mean? Pot metal of some kind. You'll hear sounds like an orchestra of people cutting the steel out during lockdowns, making knives.
Wow.
It's just part of
So
it.
the guards don't even try to confiscate everything because there's no end to it, or
Well, I mean, they're so short staffed. Half the time you're locked down because they don't have enough COs to cover the shifts.
wow.
On the weekends, you can bet weekends and holidays you're not covered. A lot of times, maybe on a weekend, but a holiday you're locked in. On uh, Just if a bus comes in the next day, somebody's gonna get smashed on the yard, you're gonna get locked in. Uh, I've went years without seeing the outside. I've literally seen years that I've never went outside of that building, just been locked down.
Wow.
It's not a way to do it. So, looking back at all that, think, oh, it was terrible, this and that. But I'm kind of grateful for that because everybody else that was out here with me before I got locked up, most of them's dead, man. For real. Most of
Yeah.
them's dead. And I'm hard headed. Like, it's tough to sell me on anything. I was sold out to that life. Um, it took that for me to, there's not a chance, and I mean not a chance, unless you harm my kids, that I am going to do anything in this world to put myself back in that situation. There's not a feeling out here that is bad enough. There's not a drug powerful enough. The only thing that you could ever do to get me to go back to jail is harm one of my kids, and I'm gonna kill you. I'm taking you and your family out. But that's it. Other than that, there's not a chance. It's
And
not.
luckily, nobody's after your kids.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're not. They're good kids. They stay out of the way. They can be assholes sometimes, but they're pretty good kids.
They seem like good kids. I got to meet them when they came on the river trip.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what kept me going for a lot of
Yeah.
the time. Because you get in there sometimes just feel so worthless. You got to rely on your parents or whoever on the outside to send you money. You're a constant disappointment.
It really is.
Sometimes you think, man, it would have been better off if I would have just went ahead and died off like the rest of them out here instead of having to live this life. So I guess that's it's one of the kind of the things that keeps me going.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't, honestly. And it really is like a whole different reality. It's like a whole different world.
Yeah, unless you've did it. I mean, it's different, man.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a whole different set of rules. You know, Depending on which yard you're at, it's different rules for different people. Just depending on what color your skin is. White boys, we don't have a whole lot of numbers, so they're the most ruthless between them and the Mexicans. Uh, you can make your time awful hard. But that's over with. But it was 3,204 days. It was hell, and it could have been a lot easier. I could have made it easier on myself. but I'm stubborn. I got to learn the hard way of everything I do. Uh, but now, it changed my perspective a lot. Before, I didn't have a lot of patience. I was easy to go off the handle. Now I do a whole lot more thinking about uh, what's going to result from my action. You know what I mean? Uh, and like I said, man, I stay busy from the time the sun comes up. No, that's not me. That's somebody lives inside. Oh, yes. Yeah. Uh, I stay busy from the time the sun comes up till it goes down, and if it doesn't benefit me or the people around me or further me in something, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I like to say, if it's not moving my story forward,
Yeah,
then I don't want to do it, because a lot of choices really come down like that, right? Is this going to take me backwards, or is this going to move me forwards, right? And sometimes, just, is this going to keep me where I'm at, is moving me forward, right? And if I weigh things out like that, it's like, yeah, I don't want to make this decision and go backwards anymore. I'm just not willing to go back to that way that I used to live, or give up on the progress that I've got. So, do you have any advice maybe for younger men that are living a lifestyle that's similar to what you were living? Is there anything that you maybe could have said to your younger self? Any advice you could have given?
Well, I've been through different detoxes and rehabs and stuff like that. You just got to keep trying until something works. You got to eventually, it's got to be enough. You got to, some people unfortunately don't make it to the rock bottom. They die before they get there. Uh, Life is so short, man. It's super short. I wasted 10 years of my life on this stuff. Really 20, because 10 years, but prior to the 10 years I did in that was pretty much a waste. Uh, you only get one shot at it, and it's over with. From the time you're born, you start dying.
There, there is a chart that this guy made. It's brianbraun.com/your life in months. I'll put a link to it on YouTube, um, under our talk here, because I've been looking at it a lot lately, and it basically just takes your entire life, assuming that you even live a long time, a long life to 85, and it lays it out in weeks. It has it in months and other ways to do it, but I looked at it in weeks, and yeah, it's a real wake up call for how much life you have left to live, because if you watch, there's a video of it where somebody does a breakdown where it's like, out of these weeks that we have left, and I'm 40 now, so it's like, yeah, most of that's filled in, right? Most of these weeks are filled in. I only got this last half that's left, and out of those weeks, I'm going to be sleeping a whole bunch of that. Right? I'm gonna be using the bathroom for a whole bunch of that. I'm gonna be eating for a whole bunch of that. And then the time that's left is like, yeah, who are you gonna spend the time with, right? What family are you gonna see? My parents are getting older, and I know you can relate with that. And I should say too, you were gracious enough to include me on a text message with some of your family members after you had been out for about 30 days. And it really touched my heart to get to watch how many people were rooting you on and encouraging you, and we're grateful for that you were home. Yeah, I think you are blessed with a lot of family there.
Yeah, I definitely am. I definitely am blessed with a lot of family, a lot of support. It's definitely made things a whole lot easier coming out, because it's a struggle when you come right out. I mean, you're basically, if you get any long period of time, it's a foreign world. I mean, even the things like the TV, there wasn't streaming services when I went to jail.
Wow.
How it's just different, man.
There's no
Some things you
iPhone.
don't even think about. Uh, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
blessed with a lot of family, a lot of support there. Uh, just the first couple months getting back and forth to parole officers before I got everything transferred to Maryland, I was having to go every week to Moorfield, West Virginia, which is about an hour and a half ride from here. I didn't have a license yet. Thankfully, Dad and Mom, they were coming over daily, almost every day. taking me somewhere, doing this or that. Finally got my license, got my car on the road. And with all these felonies, man, it's a struggle to get a job a lot of times. So you got to make your own way. You can't give up. If you give up, you know, we all know that there's a way to shut that off for a period of time. That's always in the back of your head, I think, when you're an addict, is there's always a way to stop that. Uh, so you got to just keep on getting up and going with it. There's no other option but to do that. I think I was hired to like 4 or 5 different jobs before finally the last one I didn't get a adverse action email saying, oh, your criminal history is too bad. That most of these companies I would have been qualified to have been the supervisor at least of them, prior to my incarceration.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't get in an entry level position. So I've taken, I guess you could say, taken lemons and made lemonade out of it with a lot of this stuff. Just got to look for opportunities and not be afraid to take a
Absolutely.
shot. I mean, other
Your
people,
mindset, your mindset matters, because if you had told yourself, well, I'm a felon, I can't get a job, you would have been right.
Yeah.
If that was your mindset, I can't get a job, you'd be right.
Yeah, all the times that I get rejection, and that's something that I never dealt with prior. I mean, very seldomly that have I been rejected from anything prior to being locked up. I wouldn't have known what to do with it, but now it's a motivation thing for me. So okay, well, I'm gonna show you. You know, you're gonna shut me down. I'll show you. I'll be making more money than you in a couple of years. Uh,
Oh man.
that's how I did it. Something as simple as DoorDash, which I never even knew of before I got locked up. I got signed up for that. Man, I kill it on DoorDash. I'm probably in the top couple percent of the country on earnings of that. I mean, on that alone, I could get close to hitting 6 figures on. That's amazing to me. I doubt I'll do it because I've been busy doing other things at the beginning of this year, but you could get there if you put the work into it. Now I'm talking 13, 14 hours a day, getting it 7 days a week is what you got to do that. But what else? I mean, I think if anything else, you're not going to out hustle me and you're not going to outwork me. If I got those two things going, I'll build on what I got there, save up that money, find something else to invest it in. Uh, every day I work, if I spend money, I'm going to make that money that day to put back in. I'm not going to go negative in my money. I don't have the feeling that I need to go out here and impress anybody at all anymore. I used to be a big people pleaser. Really thought, I tell you, I didn't think about what anybody thought about me, but really, I had to keep in pace with everybody else and be at the top of that, which social media does that to a lot to kids. I notice, and it's really terrible because you only see the good side. You don't see the bad side of anything on social media. Nobody puts the struggle on there, really, very seldom. So you always see these false narratives that you try to follow, and you try to keep up, and that's something that doesn't really interest me. I mean, now I'm thinking more in the future. I think there's a lot of stuff in this world I want to see before it's over with while I still can. So I'll
So
find a way to get there.
so you had communal living experience while you were in prison, obviously.
Oh yeah, more than I'd like to.
How is it different? How is it different here at the Harvest House?
Well, in prison, it's a forced living situation. A lot of times you'll be put in a situation with, I've had, I don't know how many cellies that I could not absolutely stand. Just little things would just drive me crazy. You didn't have any personal space, period. In this situation, you have your own room you can go to. Yeah, you share a bathroom, common areas, and stuff like that. In there, very few people are trying to do what they are in this situation. They're not trying to improve themselves. They're not trying to stay clean. Uh, I'd say a good 95% of the time in that penitentiary, everybody's high. You know what I mean? You don't think you're in prison. You think it's cleared off. Man, the drug prices inside of some of the penitentiaries cheaper than what they are in the surrounding areas outside of the penitentiary.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. I mean, your K2 or your Suboxone's your currency or your stamps. But that's the economy is the drug market. So you're constantly in front of it, trying to get clean in prison. Good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck. You're going to have in front of you all day, every day. May not be your exact drug of choice, and thankfully it wasn't mine. But you're going to have it in front of you all the time. Yeah, man. If I'd offer advice, just stop, figure it out. Everybody's got their own thing that will get them through. You got to find a higher power. You got to find you got to convince yourself that the world does not revolve around you. And honestly, it could really give a shit less if you're breathing or not. The world's going to keep on going. There's fossils tens of millions of years old. This thing's going to keep on spinning whether you're in it or not. So if you want to be part of it, you got to do what you can to be part of it.
Yeah. I was just talking about that with one of my sponsees, actually, about how, God is more than happy to grow over you, right? Like if you don't do anything to a house or whatever, God will cover right over it. And growth is maybe the most natural thing there is, right? You're growing or you're dying. And, yeah, I'm glad you're growing. You also, so our house, we went to, the Frostburg Flyer, or what was the Christmas one called?
Oh, that was in Romney. That was the Polar Express.
Roller Express.
I took my nephews. My kids are a little old for that. I took my nephews on that. We also did the float trip last summer down in Harper's Ferry.
And I heard we got some donuts the other day.
Yeah, we got some donuts for our meeting on Monday morning. The house is a blessing though. Rent is affordable. You got your utilities included with it. You've got other people in the house that's a drug addict I can spot a drug addict at the end of this street by the way they walk.
Bingo.
So you're not going to come in this house high and nobody notice.
That's right.
What I mean? So you got that in the back of your head. And your paper products, all that stuff is supplied. You walk into an instant living situation where you're able to function. It took me out of my old environment. People say things about your environmental situations, but I got an identity in Hampshire County. You know what I mean? There's a whole when I leave here and go to Hampshire County, I can feel some of that residual me coming through. I don't know if you can understand that or not, but it's kind of how it is.
The atmosphere.
The atmosphere. When I go back there, I see old faces and old places, and just going by places where you used to pull off of the road and get high and stuff like that. That's it. It does something to your brain. I don't know what it is. It's just not cool. Over here, I came into a situation. Nobody knew me over here. Got a fresh start. Been going so long, credit scores back to good. You know what I mean? Everything's kind of reset. I can build off with what I've got over here. The new relationships I make are positive. There's no negative relationships over here besides the ones I've made negative because, if you're not helping me grow, I'm going to get you out of the way real quick. If I've got a mission and I tell you what that mission is clearly, and you've got a problem with the time it takes away from you for me to do that, well, then you're obviously not the person I need to be around, and I'm going to move on. Relationships used to be hard for me to walk away from. I don't know, but anymore, if I can see that it's not helping my life out or the people around me or helping the community out or something like that, I'm not going to do it.
It's a product of getting away from desperation, right? When your options are limited and you're desperate, you got to cling on to whatever's around. And yeah, it's an unfamiliar feeling for a lot of addicts. And sometimes people go back to those just because it's familiar. They go back to the old relationships that are detrimental, as opposed to, feeling that freedom and moving on. And
Well, that's how this last run started. Like I said, I got around a girl that we used to sell pills together. Uh, got around her. She was clean at the time. I was clean at the time. But you've got all that shared trauma that you can talk about. And we used to do this and glamorize it, make it sound so much better than it ever was. And then eventually, one of you falls off, and the next one follows. And it's the way it goes.
so when you and I were talking, when you were still locked up, and we were trying to form this plan of you moving out, and it wasn't clear if what the court was going to do and all that, would you have ever thought that this is where you would be in just a few months?
No, I didn't think it would happen this fast. I mean, I'm driven. When I got a goal in mind, and I've had plenty of time to sit down and set those goals and figure out what they're going to be. I knew I'd get there eventually. The only thing I absolutely cannot do is get high. Everything that I've worked for up until this point, I know that me getting high one time, I would feel so much shame and so much guilt. I would just go ahead and end it all. I mean, I might
Same.
not, it might not be suicide, but it would be gradually that way.
Yeah. Same here.
After I built all this up, got all these people on my side, mended shit, so many bridges that I burned. I've got victims that are on my side now. You know what I mean? People that I literally robbed that are on my Facebook giving me words of encouragement. So I couldn't let those people down. I couldn't, and if I would, it would not be. It wouldn't be a good situation, because it wouldn't just be one. It'd be one's too many, thousands and never enough. And that's how it would be. And with the stuff that's out here now, it'd probably be a short run before it had me gone.
That's the truth.
I mean, the fentanyl was just starting to come around in 2015 when I got incarcerated. That last month, I got brought back like 4 times. So I could only imagine it would be over with. But in this short period of time, no, I didn't think it would.
So what's the future got in store for you?
Well, I just last week, I've been going to Hagerstown to the community college. Got my Class A CDLs on the 26th of February, graduated the whole program. I'm currently talking to, well, I have not formally been hired yet. I've been told I'll be getting an offer. I try to keep those things without getting too excited about it until it's all done, because we know
Knock on wood.
I got 15 felonies on my record. A lot can change once they start digging around in that. It's the largest distributor of drinks in the country.
Well, I should have mentioned to you too, if you want a letter or recommendation, or if I can do anything to, make a phone call on your behalf or whatever, don't hesitate. I've certainly seen the guys that are honest about their past typically will end up where they're supposed to be. And people that don't and try to lie about it usually end up in a lot more hot water.
I put it right in the applications anymore. When they ask for your job history, tell them I was unemployed, I was incarcerated. If you want the details, I'll give them to you. And I've got a formatted letter already with everything they may come up with, and what happened and what I've did since then to improve it. And then, if it gets down to more explanations are needed, then I'll come to you and get that letter of recommendation. I surround myself with good people that are in good spots, that would help sway the opinion a lot of any employer, I believe. My references on there are all reputable people that if they were to reach out to them, they would be convinced that I'm not blowing smoke, that I've definitely changed my ways. And they wouldn't. that they would not give a false recommendation on me either, you know. Uh, I think it'll all work out. Uh, it just makes you apprehensive when you got so much and you're looking forward to it. I mean, there's other jobs I could take, but this one keeps me close to home. And it's a good one. Uh, get me where I need to be for my plan to go through without having to live on the road 24/7. Uh, so, you know, if I have to, I have to. If not, I'm fine doing what I'm doing now. I mean, I'm making it just fine, but you might have to go back to the drawing board. I originally started with hopes to start my own business, get into hot shotting and stuff like that. And I've got all that set up uh, and ready to go if I need to take that course of action. You got to leave yourself options and alternatives and have vision. If one thing goes wrong, well, I'll do this. But one thing I'm not going to do is be a coward. And once one thing knocks me down, go hide behind a needle somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not one thing I'm willing to do. So if it works, it works. If not, find out something else. We'll figure it out. Bills will get paid regardless. But life's good now, man. I can't complain about a thing. Grateful for this program, giving me the opportunity to do what I'm doing. Said I've taken advantage of everything that you all have had to offer. Been more than helpful, even with my transition into going to college for those couple of months, getting me housing so I could move around and not have to travel 150 miles a day back and forth. And just everything about it's been good. I haven't had a bad experience, but I'm getting to the point now where if this goes through, this job and everything goes through, I can't remember living by myself in my adult life. So that's a step I'm ready to take. I think I'm getting close to being ready for that. So in the next couple months, if it's God's will that all this goes through, that may be something I do. If not,
Well, easy
so
does it.
yeah, I'm taking it easy, trying to figure it out. I'm big. I got a lot of big ideas, you know. Uh, I see something, I think, well, I could do that, and this would work out. But I
I
have to
stayed
I got to reevaluate them a lot of times.
I stayed in the communal living for almost 8 years, and I don't regret any of it. It was
Yeah,
getting, and I would encourage you to do the same thing, man. When it is time, maybe think about getting a place where you could have somebody there with you, right?
yeah,
Maybe buy a house and have somebody help pay your mortgage, well, living in the basement, and
right.
it's a very natural way to live. I don't think humans were really supposed to ever just be totally by themselves and alone.
Well, that's how my thinking goes, anyways. I don't like paying. I don't like any of this money coming out of my pocket. So I started looking at rent prices, and I'm thinking, well, hell, I should just buy a building with a couple units in it. Let somebody else pay that rent instead of me paying it.
There you go. And
Uh,
as guys graduate, we'll send them your way.
right. Could do something like that. If I told you, I don't think that for me, what you do, I don't know that would be a good situation for me because I don't know. I put my all into everything. You know, I could have 1,000 guys graduate and one guy or move on and do well, then that one guy dies on me or something like that. It'd really affect me and take me down. Maybe in the future that might be something I'd be interested in. Uh, you know, on the back end of it, I might be better suited for something like this. But direct contact with new sober living people, it's not really where I want to go right now.
I'll tell you, it's definitely
It's
not
got to
easy.
be yeah, it's got to be rough. I
We just had a girl, not in our housing, but a girl on this side of town who everybody was close with. and they just found her a couple nights ago, and she wasn't breathing, and they actually just had to disconnect her from life support this morning.
Yeah.
And somebody who actually came on one of the Gratitude Foundation events, I think she was at that river tubing trip, and just somebody, you don't know, when it comes to addiction, you don't know who's going to stay and who's going to go. And I mean, that to me, that helps me just appreciate the time that we have together. It helps me appreciate the friendships that I have. And, I keep a lot of people close, but I keep those that I really care about, even closer.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of how I am. Like, I'm friendly with most of the people that I run into, but to really get into my circle, you got to be tried and tested, to get a seat at my table.
well, I'll tell you what that looks like for me too, Scott, though. It's that you'll call me when you're hurting.
Right.
Right? It's that you'll call me and let you know what problems and needs that you have so we can help, right? Like that to me is a real friend that I know I can keep close, because
Right.
if nobody's ever calling with a problem, then how do I know that I'm just going to not hear, or just hear that they relapse, or hear that they, you know, self-deleted. I'd much rather tell me that you're hurting. That's somebody
Oh,
I
yeah,
know I can trust.
sure. For sure. And I've built a good network of people, uh, in the area, and that have been through it, got a lot of clean time in that I talk to on a daily basis. Uh, Keep the focus on what my purpose is, what I think my purpose is in life, um, and just continue to go forward from that. Make the next right decision. If that isn't the right decision, reevaluate and start over again. That's all that I can do.
Well, your story is an inspiration, my friend. It really is. And I appreciate your time for being here with us.
Yeah.
If there's any last closing words that you'd like to give us before I end the episode?
I'd just like to say thank you again to all the board members, everybody involved with the foundation, for making this possible. It it really is helpful to somebody new in recovery to get your feet under you, get a start on the rest of your life. Uh, Let you be around people that are making changes in their life and can see a better way and the result of living that way. Uh, it's positive reinforcement that you can get here. Uh, Mike and I's talked about being away from the house for long stretches of time, and when it's finally time to come home, we're usually ready to come home so we can get a little peace. You know, you can
Yeah.
find the peace here. You can go up in your room and shut your door and turn the TV on, and you don't have shut the phone off and relax a little bit if you need to. And for me, I'll go out here and mess around in the yard, and it cleans up the house a little bit, and I don't know, stress relief for me. Yeah, I'll miss it when I'm gone from it. Like I said, I don't know when that might be. Might be a couple months, might be a couple years. I don't know. For now, it works, and I'll keep doing it.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And yeah, thank you to everyone who's donated to Gratitude Foundation. GratitudeFoundation.com. We're actually starting our new big push in addition to just raising more funds for all the fun that we're going to have this summer, is to buy a minivan. We've got our sights set on our new fundraiser for that. Transportation is obviously, a big deal for people that are new in recovery. And thank you again for watching this episode. Anybody else who you think might be interested in watching and hearing about Scott's story, feel free to share this on any of the platforms you're watching. Most people are on Spotify or YouTube, but we're everywhere podcasts can be found. Scott, you're truly an inspiration, man, and thank you for your time, for being here with me, for being a part of Gratitude Foundation, for being value added to your house, for being a part of your family, just for being an awesome human being. And yeah, man, the sky's the limit. We got a lot more story to tell. So
Thank you.
absolutely, brother. I'll see you next time.
Take care.